would you do if you saw a pot of silver lying inside a neighbour's yard? Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Pelly. Welcome to Journey with Story. I'm sure that all of you would have said, of course, that you would go and tell your neighbour about the pot of silver because it would not be yours to keep, right? Well, today's story is a tale from Afghanistan about a poor farmer who comes upon such a pot and is tempted to keep it, but in the end decides not to because he knows that would be dishonest. However, it turns out that his wife is not quite so honest. Let's see how that turns out for them both. First, a big thanks to all of our loyal Patreon subscribers. We really appreciate your support. And if you're not already a Patreon subscriber, we hope you might consider joining us. You can even join for free to start with. Go to www.journeywithstory.com and click on the Patreon button to find out more. Now let's take a journey with The Pot of Silver, a story from Afghanistan. Once upon a time, there was a poor farmer who worked very hard. Every day he woke up early to tend to his crops in the fields. He returned home late every night, exhausted from a day toiling away outside, looking after the wheat and making sure it grew as tall as possible and in abundance. But despite his hard work, he only ever made enough from his crops to buy just enough food for himself and his wife to last until he could next get to market to sell his goods. The market was a few hours away, and going there by foot to sell his crops took a whole day and was even more tiring than looking after his farm. Every night before bed, no matter how tired he was, the farmer prayed. And he always prayed for the same thing. "Oh, please, grant me riches in my hearth," he would say before getting into bed and falling asleep. The hearth is just that floor in front of the fireplace. One day the farmer was out checking his fields when he caught his shirt on the fence that separated his land from his neighbour's. The fence had been broken for a while. "I guess," he said to himself, "now is the time to fix the fence." The farmer got his tools and began to dig around the fence post. Once he had removed it, he decided to make the hole a little deeper so the fence would be more secure. But as he dug, there was a loud clanging noise. The farmer had hit something that definitely wasn't soil. Kneeling down, the farmer scraped away a layer of soil and saw a silver metal box. He loosened the soil around it until he could grab its sides and heaved it out. The box was clearly very old and made of metal. It had flowers carved on all sides and a lock dangling from the front, although it was not locked. "Phew, this is heavy," said the farmer, sitting back and taking a rest. After drinking some water, the farmer wiped the box clean and then forced open the lid. He had to put some effort in because the box had not been opened in a long time and the lid was very stiff. And what did the farmer see inside? Hundreds and hundreds of silver coins. No wonder the box had been so heavy. At first, the farmer was overjoyed because he thought his prayers had been answered, but then he remembered that he had asked for riches in his hearth. He knew that taking something that wasn't meant for him would be bad. So he secured the lid back onto the box and buried the box where he had found it. He dug a new hole for the fence post next to its old position, and after fixing it in place, went home for the day. When he got home, he greeted his wife, who had prepared a small dinner for them. While they ate, he told her about his discovery. "You did what?" the farmer's wife exclaimed after hearing that the farmer had reburied the silver. "Why would you do that?" "It was not meant for me," the farmer said. "If I had taken it, who knows what bad things would have happened to us." The farmer's wife scoffed, and for the rest of the evening refused to speak to her husband. She had always been an unhappy and selfish woman who wanted nothing more than to be rich and laze around doing nothing. When her husband fell asleep, the farmer's wife slipped out of the house and knocked on her neighbour's door, telling him what had happened. "The box is buried next to the fence post," she told the neighbour. "You should go and get it tonight, and we can share the riches." The neighbour agreed and headed out to the farmer's land with a shovel. It took him an hour to trek out to the spot, using the moon and stars to light the way. And it was quiet when he got there. The only noise, the occasional hoot of a bird. He found the fence post and saw the newly dug soil next to it. He began digging and only stopped when he heard a clunk as his shovel hit something hard and metal. "Aha!" said the neighbour. He pulled out the box and placed it on the ground. It was very heavy, and the neighbour took a moment to rest, building up the anticipation for what he would see when he opened the box. Slowly he opened the lid, which wasn't as stiff because it had already been opened once earlier in the day, but immediately snapped it shut again after glimpsing what was inside and, more scarily, hearing it. "That sneaky old woman," he said. "There's no silver in here. It's just a bunch of snakes. I bet she hoped I'd stick my hand inside and be poisoned, and then she could take my home and my land. More fool her. She'll get what she deserves." Making sure the box was completely sealed, the neighbour slowly carried it back to his house. Once there, he set the box down so he could get a ladder from his barn, which he set against the farmer's house. Then he climbed with the box up to the roof. At the top, he held the box upside down over the chimney and quickly opened the lid, watching as the snakes fell down into the farmer's house. "That'll teach the old woman to try and trick me," the neighbour said. The farmer's wife had been waiting up by the hearth, thinking about all the things she would buy with her new-found wealth. The first thing she planned to do was to go to the city and rent a beautiful house, and then buy some fancy clothes for herself. As she daydreamed, she heard a noise from the chimney and watched in shock as dozens of snakes poured out onto the hearth. She leaped back, knocking over the stool she was sitting on, and ran out the front door. "I refuse to stay here any longer," she shrieked. The next morning, the farmer woke up early as usual. He noticed that his wife, usually a late riser, was not in the cottage. He took a quick look outside and found a note on the tree stump where he cut wood for the cottage. The farmer had to admit he wasn't surprised that his wife had left. She had always been more suited to the city, and she would be happier there. The farmer made his way back to the kitchen to light the hearth for breakfast. And that was when he noticed an unusual sight. Covering the ashes from the day before were coins, hundreds and hundreds of silver coins. "My prayers have been answered," the farmer exclaimed. "I wanted riches in my hearth, and they have arrived." And so the farmer lived happily ever after, able to grow his business with the money from his hearth, hiring workers to help him, and better equipment to make his job easier. Well, I wonder, what do you think this story's souvenir is? The little nugget of truth about what it means to be human and live in this world. Yes, it must have something to do with being honest and doing good in the world. Often ends up being best for you. Our poor farmer's honesty was rewarded in the end, wasn't it, as he got all the riches he wanted. Cheerio then. Join me next time for Journey with Story. Music and post-production was by Colette Jonas.